everybody, welcome back to the workshop. Today I've got a chainsaw here that won't start, so this will be my take on a will it run video. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. It just was given to me and said, Dave, can you fix this? So we're about to find out. We'll check the usual stuff. I reckon it might be a while since the air cleaner's been cleaned out. I do notice it seems to have a lot of compression, more than you'd usually expect. There's the model number in case any of you guys are interested in it. It's a Stihl 009L electronic quick stop. Pretty handy. Spark plug's still in. I'll just leave it in the off position, and I'll show you here. It's quite difficult to pull out the cord there. Maybe on the ground with my foot on it somewhere I'll be able to get a decent zip on it, but let's see how it goes when I take the spark plug out. If it's still stiff, then something else is going on. Looking at that, I haven't got my glasses on. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible. I'll give it a clean up. It's certainly not worn down in any way. Assuming it's the right one, NKG BPMR7A. Anyway, let's see if it pulls any easier now with the spark plug out of it. Yep, that's interesting, isn't it? It's got really good compression. I'll just give the spark plug a bit of a touch up. Got all sorts of sun coming in the window there just to make it interesting. Better already. It's got a bit of old wet and dry. I'll just give it a bit of a touch up down between the electrodes there. That's looking pretty good. Not quite sure what the gap is supposed to be for this saw. I'll have a look at something like 20 thou. 15 goes in. 15 4 is 19. I reckon that won't go in. Just a bit of drag there, so I think it's 19 thou. That's what currently the gap is. I'll leave it alone, but we know what it is now if I need to look it up. Now I couldn't even tell where the air cleaner was, so I had to do a quick Google. I believe we take out that screw and the air cleaner is going to be under that cover. See. When it's in the choke position, this little round thing here covers up that hole here. So that's how the choke works. Not sure how this comes out of there. We're about to find out. It's not too bad. Oh, the whole thing comes out like that. Fair bit of crap underneath it. We'll give that a blast. I can see what looks like a mixture screw or something there. Oh yeah, that's probably where your screwdriver goes, in there or in there. That one's got a LA on it, which I think is the low speed idle Not sure what the other one's for, probably the high-speed mixture. Anyway, I'll find something to plug up the hole so I don't blow all my dust down there. I'll see if I can get my compressor to start and we'll give the whole lot a blast out. Okay, looking at this again, if you turn it over, all the guns are on the other side, so it is pretty well blocked up. Basically the air must come up through somewhere else and then come through the filter and then back down the hole. We'll just put a bit of rag in there so we can't blow dirt in there. You get out of the way. We don't want to blow dirt through the filter, so I'll give it a good blast from the other side. That's all right. Now we'll just give this a blast off down there. I'll give the hole saw a good clean once I've got that cover back on. If I blew my screw away, I know, it's sitting in there. Looks like those two little notches go up in there, and that comes down second, so in there first. This model's got the chain tension is up in there. Do a great big nut here to take the strain off it. Should be the same size as my spark plug spanner. Wrong way. Quite sure how this cover comes off. One screw there. Wonder what else is holding that on. We just take that nut right off. Yeah, that could have been worse as well. Looking at that, cutter bar's pretty well worn. It's got some heat marks here and there. Got a bit of a burr on both sides. Looking down there, you can often see them worn one way or the other. It's not too bad on that side. Yeah, pretty good on that side. I might just give it a touch up and take that burr off. You probably get these burn marks if you're running it without oil or enough oil. I'll just make sure the holes here aren't blocked and looking a bit clogged up with sawdust at the moment. So I'll give that a good blast off, and the little chain guide on the end still spins all right. And I'll clean up all that and I'll bring you back. I notice there's a little gauze screen down the bottom here. That's partially blocked. I wouldn't say it was blocked by much. But that's the air intake. Must just be an initial, is that the air intake? Well, that'd be the exhaust. Looking a bit like the exhaust. And in any case, I'll give it a clean. It's probably just to stop things crawling in there when you're not looking. It's not too bad really. Look worse than what it is. Alrighty, we've got it pretty much cleaned up now. That little gauze thingy, wherever it was, is back down on there. Nice and clean again. Next thing to do is check for spark. So we'll just pop our spark plug back in there. We need to sit it somewhere against the main part of the engine there. We can get it to sit there where I won't zap myself. It'll be a bit awkward. I have to put my thinking cap on. Please stand by. Okay. With the lights down low and a jumper wire across there. Let's see what I can see now. No spark at all. So there's your problem. Which means, I'll put the lights back on again. That means I'm going to have to dig in further. Probably need to take the handle off. Looks like 2 screws holding that on. Looks a bit strange. It's turning, but it's not coming loose. Very odd. There's a nut on the inside of that one, which would be a bit strange. There is a nut in there. Let's see down in here. I'll have to find a little spanner that fits on that. I'm sure it's just spinning as I turn the handle, turn the screw around. Yep. About an 8. That's got it. We're going to fall off the end there. If I can avoid dropping that. pesky little fella. Now, screw's still in there. Okay, I don't know whether these screws are all the same or not, but I'll put that one back in the hole. Those two are still over there, all different lengths. The brake hand is going to have to come off as well. It's got a spring on it just to make it interesting. Looks like only one screw holding that in. We'll have fun getting tension on the spring again later on. Probably ought to do is drain out what's left of the cutter bar oil in there, because that's where the oil comes out, and it will probably just drain the tank out in a hurry. Please stand by while I do that. Alrighty, I drained the oil out, and there were quite a few chunks in it. Shame I didn't film it. Not quite sure how you get chunks of sawdust in the oil there, but it was in there. What happens if I take this cover off here first? Disconnect the throttle cable from there somewhere. I think I'm going to have to do more research. This probably comes off there first. That's a drop test. I want that little Meccano set to fall apart. Looks like. Looks like it already has fallen apart. That little fella sits up here in that little slot. Looks like I'm supposed to unhook that throttle linkage from there. Like that. I'll leave that in there. That in there. Yeah, there's a fair bit of gunge in there too. Plonk that there. Does that let me get any closer to wherever that cable goes to? All right, more research. I will be back. Okay, done a bit digging. Now that I've got the cover off on the other side here, I can see the coil there. There's a wire that runs down underneath through there and nicks around there. So that's the wire that goes to the spark plug. So the problem could be with the coil, or it could be with the kill switch. See the kill switch here in the frame. Just goes up and down like that, stops that way, runners that way. On the back, if I tip out all my pieces that I didn't want to do, they're all out now. There's just a little lever here, a little spring that pushes up on something here. That goes on there. This must be the piece that it pushes on, but it seems like it's stuck. So I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that piece, because that's more than likely the problem. If it hasn't got any spark because the kill switch isn't working. Okay, it's a little bit cleaner now. This is the, get down in there, this is the kill switch mechanism here. I can't get it to move in any direction. I'm not quite sure how it slides in there. The actuator just pushes on that little pin, I think, and from what I can tell, it springs back. Looking at the actuator, it's just a push thing. And it looks to me like, here it is there, looks to me like it just pushes on in that little indent there, and then get it on a good angle. Yeah, no real good angle. Yeah, just when you push forward, that pops out, and that must push that little pin in, and then when you pull it back, it's a little bit stiff. The pin should pop back out by itself because it's not hooked on there, it's just sitting there. So looking again at that, this bit here, wherever we're going, yeah, pushes in and pops out. Further analysis of this bit in here, that's where the kill switch contacts. I thought that was originally supposed to move and make contact with something, but I think it's actually that little pin there itself is the contact. If I look at the inside here of the case, you can see the switch is up here, there, off, on, or off, the other way is on. It's a little bit stiff. That slides this little contact here up and back, and that contacts the little pin, and I think somewhere here it must be touching the case. So that grounds the spark plug to the case, no spark. So I don't think there's any problem with that. I've just been measuring the resistance on the spark plug, and it seems a bit unusual, so there might be a problem with the spark plug itself. I'm just going to reassemble the rest of the case now, and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on. It could of course be the coil that's a problem. And I can get those from the spare parts store or order one online, but I'll just reassemble the case now and see if I can get a spark out of it now. You don't need to watch me do that. I've just got the original spark plug in the holder there. Can you guys see that? Sparking away. I'll just see if I can make it a bit darker. See it sparking there. So I don't really know what the problem is. Let me just put the kill switch off now. Looks like it stopped it. So the kill switch still works. And off again. Haven't really changed anything, so I'm guessing we'll just put it back together and see if it goes. I'll finish putting it back together. Not that much left to go. There's the throttle up on the top here and all the chain and brake stuff. Pop the spark plug back in. And back there. New frame there. Yeah. Leave the lead off just until I get everything else reassembled. That was a test plug I had. It's an old mower plug and that sparked fine as well. What have we got left? We got the air filter, which goes on that way. One thing I noticed here, there's a breather pipe here that's not connected. Someone has jammed a screw in it. I don't know whether you'll see that. If you look in there, the end of it's pretty cactus, but it's got a screw jammed in there. I think the screw just broke off in the piece that fell down in there. So, I don't know why someone would have jammed a screw in that. But that hose is pretty much cactus. My father's noise. So, I'm not quite sure whether it should be on or off, but I'll just pop that back on there. If it's not too brittle to stay on. No, that ain't going to stay, it's just going to fall apart. Not sure why it's blocked. It's a little tiny grub screw. I believe that's just a breather pipe from the fuel tank. I'll leave it in there because it was running that way before. Get it right, that way up. And then that one went on top of there. That lined up, we'll pop, no, those have to go, those two little tabs that have to go underneath those two little steps, which I think it was. We'll pop the screw back in. Actually, before I do that, I better assemble the throttle mechanism, which was a bit of Meccano in itself. Let's say that goes in there, on the underside. Nope. And then that little thing goes in that hole there, which will be fun. That's got it in the hole. Can you guys see that? I think you can. And that one goes in there like that. That now actuates the throttle. This one goes up here. I had to go back and look how that spring went on there. So I come back a bit there. Basically it goes on the pin like that way around, and then when the top cover goes on, it holds that spring down, which forces that handle to be in the up position till you grab it. So all I've got to do now is get the cover back on with that spring there. something like that. And now the trigger's locked until you hold that down. That's how that goes. Simple when you know how it goes. The air filter. And the cover. And the brake. There's another piece of this somewhere. Okay, I can see where the spring goes. There's a hole, if you look in there, and that's where the long part of the spring goes. So that goes into there like that, which lines it up over top of that, over top of the axle there. And that little pin, the smaller one of the two, goes in there. There's a little hole right in there. So my challenge, which I probably won't make you watch, is how to get that all together in there. Okay, wasn't as hard as I was expecting. I basically held the spring against the handle with the long pin in that hole in the black plastic, then held it all together, slotted that pin in the little hole in the case, and then forced the bracket over the top and into the hole. Then I put the screw in. Sounds easy, but now it moves. If I tighten it up all the way till it stops, it locks that up. So I just took it back half a turn. Now this thing goes in there, and that basically forces the brake on and off. But I'm not sure. I think I need to put the chain and everything back on before I do that. So we'll do that next. Now that's quite a bit burred up on the edge there. Probably doesn't hurt anything, but I might just clean that cutter bar up a little bit and knock that off. You saw me sharpen the blade the other day, so I'll put a link to that if you want to watch it again. I just wonder if I can remove the sins there. If I just get a piece of wet and dry and run up and down, I'll take the blue off. It'll look like they knew what they were doing. Like nothing ever happened. I've got it all back together again. Got a little bit of tension on the chain there. Spins freely. I always like to start them with the chain brake on. Kill switch off. Give it a bit of choke. This one's got a lockable throttle, so I'll lock the throttle on. Hold it down nice and firm on the ground. Sounds alright. I was just holding the blade near the ground. I should see chain oil flicking off onto the ground, and I'm not seeing that. So there's something up with the oiler mechanism. That'll be the next project. But I think as far as starting, that's pretty easy. So we can call that fixed. The kill switch works. There's one swan there, and the other one sitting over on the nest, minding his own business. There's no I'm here though.